Now, in this next example, we're going to find the mean, median, and mode of a frequency distribution. So those distributions that we did in the last section. And so to kind of tell you what this is showing us, this is a set of numbers that actually has 20 numbers. If I add all these frequencies up, there are 20 numbers in the list. And the list, I'm not going to write the whole thing out, but it would start with 2 84s, and then it would have 7 87s. And then it would have 48s, then 493s, then 399s. So if you wanted to, you could write out the list with all 20 numbers in it and work these problems. And they would work just like the problems on the previous page. However, there is a shortcut if you don't want to have to list out all 20. So I'm going to show you that now. For the mean, we're going to multiply the value times the frequency. So 84 times 2, because there are 2 of those. And instead of having to type in 87 plus 87 plus 87 plus 87 7 times, I would say 87 times 7, and then 88 times 4, and then 93 times 4, and then 99 times 3. And on the bottom, I'm going to add those frequencies together. It is 20, so I already told you it was 20, so if you wanted to skip and just write 20, you could. Typing in the numerator is going to give me 1793, and typing in the denominator is 20, and that is going to give me 89.9. The mode is the number with the highest frequency. So the highest frequency is 7, so that mode is 87. Again, you can imagine if you listed out all 20 numbers, 87 would occur the most. Now the median's where it can get a little tricky to think about. Again, feel free. You could list out all 20 numbers and find the median just like we did on the examples on the previous page. If you didn't want to have to do the long way, there are 20 numbers, and the median is the halfway point. So I'm going to divide by 2. That gives me 10. Now remember, 20 is an even number. So finding the median of even numbers is the halfway between 2 numbers. It's the average of those 2 numbers. So I need to find the 10th and the 11th number. Looking at my list, the first 2 numbers are 84. The next 7 numbers are 87. That's 9 total numbers. That means the 10th number is going to be an 88, because the next number after 87 would be an 88. And the 11th number would also be an 88. So if we were to add those up and divide by 2, we would get a median of 88. Again, that's a shortcut. You don't have to do it that way. I do want to point out, because some people always say, and it's right for this one, that 88 is just the median of this bigger list. It's just the middle number. That does not happen all the time. That is just a coincidence this time. It will happen sometimes. It did on this one. If it worked out every time, I would totally tell you, just look for the middle number in the list. But that's not necessarily the case. That the median is going to be, of the whole list, is going to be the median of just looking at that chart. So please don't just skip to that and assume that's the case. Now what I did up here in this mean that I did up here was technically called a weighted mean. So I've got the definition of a weighted mean right here. And the weighted mean is where we're going. I've got the formula down below. But the weighted mean is where we're going to multiply the weight, or in this case it was the frequency, times our number, our value. And remember, this big symbol there just means the sum. So you can see I multiplied and then I added up everything that I multiplied together. And then the bottom is a sum of all those weights that I used up above. And this is how we can calculate our class grades. So I've got an example down here below where we're going to do our weighted mean. So we're in a class and our grades based off of several things. But one thing is our labs. Labs are worth 25%. And I'm going to tell you, I change percents to decimals for all of these. Some people don't. It works out the same in the end. So it doesn't matter, but I like to change the percents to decimals. So my labs are worth 25%, and I scored a 92 on the lab. Let's see. Each major test is worth, each major test is worth 22.5%, and on the first major test, I scored a 81. Oops, let me keep them all in order here. So I'll put 0.22 times 81. On the second major test, I scored a 93. And then the final exam is worth 30%, and I scored an 85 on the final exam. And then on the bottom, I'm going to add up all those percents. I would do this every time just to be careful. They're supposed to add up to 1 to 100%, but sometimes they might not, just depending on the problem. So I would just be careful and always add them up. Typing in the entire numerator gives me 87.65. Typing in the bottom gives me 1. So my grade would have been at 87.65%.